Okay, we left off Lamed. Okay, Ton Rabbanon. About 6 lines after the Mishnah. Amalva Moses HaKohen is Alevi Oni Lios Mafresh Alein Michelko. Our Mishnah, same case as our Mishnah. Person lends money to a Kohen Levi, a poor man, that he should be able to tithe from his own grain, whether it's the Truma, the Meiser, or the Meiser Oni, and take the equivalent of the loan as payment for the money that he lent the Kohen, the Levi, or the Oni. Mafresh Aleim B'cheskas Shein Kayomin. So he's permitted to tithe from the grain based on the chazaka that they're still alive, and he's able to decide that the value of the grain is based on the lowest price in the market. The shar hazol, the cheapest above. It's not a question of ribis, because he's giving money and he's getting more than he lent, so to say, because he's setting it in his favor in terms of the repayment. We'll see exactly more explains why it's not ribis. This, although it's a loan, shvius will not, the sabbatically, it will not cancel the loan. Right? At the end of the 7th year, any money that's owed is canceled. This arrangement with these various people in this situation, the loan remains intact. The debt's intact, and the lender is permitted to collect based on the original arrangement. Let's say the lender wants to back out. He's not interested in the original arrangement. He can't back out. He says, something, I prefer to wait because I heard there's an inheritance coming down the pike. What do I have to be busy with grain? I'll be agreeable to do the chesed because I know I'm guaranteed payment because I could take it from the Truma, the Meiser. What do I need it for? Whatever. There's an inheritance, I'll wait, I'll collect from the inheritance. Well, let's see, there's a question. He's concerned we blight, and as a result of that, there's not going to be a crop. So therefore, he wants to change the terms. Can't change it. Once you give the money based on this arrangement, you're locked into that arrangement with the borrower. Choser, nisyashu abalim. What happens? So the Yisrael has a field, and the agreement was that this year's crop will go towards payment of the debt. Let's say as there was blight during that year, and the owner of the field, the Yisrael, the lender, realizes he's not collecting because there's not going to be a crop to collect from. He's not going to be tithing grain because the grain is not going to come to fruition. A mafresh, and then after it comes back, it does come back, and there was sufficient grain, and he factually takes truma. Could he take then that truma and retain it for himself as payment of the debt? No longer. The moment he despaired, he said, "Bye, I took a hit, a loss. The debt, there's nothing to collect from any longer. It's as if it's lost. You forfeited your right to collect because he despaired, because he believed that crop wasn't going to be. Because you can't be mafresh on something that doesn't exist. It's as if that crop doesn't exist any longer. Because he never believed that crop was going to happen. Ultimately, it came back, the crop does exist. Right, because, no, the debt was linked to collect only from this. We said he can't back out. Right, can't back out. Let's say he said this year's crop and there was no crop. What happens? It's gone. There's no the borrower has no debt to pay any longer. But here, at the same year, the crop came back. We're not speaking about the upcoming year's crop, and there was a second. No, this crop itself came back. So it was almost like it's like yish betos. It's like he despaired. It's a mistaken despair. That's what it is. Because yish doesn't make a difference. But we're talking about the agreement. The agreement. You were ready. You despaired on the agreement. So once that, it's as if you lost your right. You lost your right to collect. Because you didn't believe the crop was going to be. Not verbally, it's just a reality. In any case, let's say a person loses something in Times Square, right? and there's no way you believe it's lost, and you say, woe to me that I took this loss. 5 minutes later, somebody comes and says, by the way, I found it. You have no right to claim it any longer. Because the moment you have that sense of loss, it's gone. Torah says the finder has a right to keep it. Famous story of Moshe Feinstein. He has a tshuva, the Kristallnacht. There was a shul in Germany burning, and somebody ran to say, Jews fled. Jew went, and he took a Sefer Torah out of the Oral Kodesh. Wow. So everybody believed everything was going to be destroyed. Years later, it was brought in, I think the Jew had it in Seattle. And the original owner of the Sefer Torah found out that his Sefer Torah was saved. He had a claim. So did he have a claim? He had no claim. No claim. He was miyayish. He despaired. And Moshe said it's the right thing to give back to the man. You don't have to keep it. But legally, he has a right to keep it. Because factually, he believed it was destroyed. There was no hope he'd have it back. He was miyayish. You don't have to. The Gemara says, "You're the Sfina Bayam." The ship is going down at sea. Even if he screams, he says, "I don't despair." Doesn't make a difference. That's the equivalent of the ship going down at sea. Because it's like, because.
Why is that the right? I mean, the man risked his life to save a Sefer Torah. He's got a zechut for that.
So what? Can I go? Let's say he didn't despair, and the person risks his life to give Sefer Torah. Should you give him the Sefer Torah?
That's not the law. That's what we're talking about. The man risked his life to go in there and save the Sefer Torah.
Yeah, but it wasn't because he wanted to. He wanted to acquire the Sefer Torah.
Does it matter what his
No, it doesn't make a difference what his intent is. Many of these things, I mean, many things, we have a concept of kibush milchama. Things, spoils of war. Spoils of war is an acquisition, even a war. I mean, the ones who lose the battle. I mean, even let's say they wanted to despair. Factually, it's like the ship went down at sea. That's the spoils of war. Spoils of war belong to the victor. So the same thing. No, I understand that. No, definitely not. The world
says that the right thing to do is for Israel to get back to
No, it's different. Not something else. There, legally, the land is ours.
No, I understand, but
legally, no. See, say to the United States, legally, you should give back America to whoever, to the Indian, American Indian. You say such a thing, right? So again, if the man believed that the crop of that year was going to be, and he despaired of the crop, and then it comes back, he can no longer be mafresh al ovud. Meaning the original agreement, now he takes truma. That truma is for what? The agreement was to take truma from this year's crop. He believed there wouldn't be a crop. Okay, now we're going to see the brisa. Amamar, posig imon kishar hazol. The agreement is that whatever the lowest price in the market is, that's what we're going to lock the payment into. Right? A bushel for $1. Even though eventually the price rises, when there's going to be less wheat on the market, it's going to be more. But he locks it into the what? To the cheaper market price. Which is pshita. You're allowed to. It's not only because here they made special dispensations for these people because they have no money. The Kohen has no share in the land. The Levi has no share in the land. The poor man has nothing. So there was special dispensation. So but anybody's permitted to do this. I lend you money and I say the crop that you have, it hasn't yet been determined what the market value is. I'm lending you based on the cheapest, whatever that market is, it's the cheapest value. That's what it is. Meaning, let's say initially he didn't say it. If you say it's one thing. So I'm locking, the loan is based on when it's revealed what the cheapest, the lowest price in the market is. Here he didn't. He should have. He didn't lock it into that. He lent it to him. We say, nevertheless, he has a right to collect from the lowest price. So he's really, you'd say, he's maximizing on it over here. We say it doesn't make a difference. Even though it appears we have a concept known as mersi karibis. It's very interesting. What is bona fide ribis on a Torah level? I lend you $1, I say I want $2. That means that's called ribs katsutza. It's been preset what exactly the payment is. A percentage, regardless. What about if it's questionable? Whether it will be ribis or not be ribis. It's questionable. Person lends money the way we rule, and he says payment is $1. That's the ribis. That's the interest. That's ribis. What about, he says, if you pay me before 30 days, just return the money. Beyond 30 days, you stop paying interest. No, it's not. That according to one opinion, Rabbi Yehuda, we ruled it's called tzarech beribis. It's not clear. At the time of the loan, it wasn't clear that he'd pay after 30 days. It has to be, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it has to be clearly determined at the time of the loan, he definitely will be paying for this money. The whole concept is known as agad notar. Agad notar, I'm paying for waiting for my money. That's what ribis is. Right? But there, since at the time the loan was questioned whether he'd have to actually pay, that's tzarech beribis. That's not ribis doraisa, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Okay? But then we have a thing called merzi karibis. It has a semblance of ribis. For instance, a person lends you money, and you want to give him a gift to show your appreciation. You're not permitted. That's ribis job. That's rabbinical ribis. Because that's the people who say, why is he giving the gift? He's paying. He's paying for the money that he had given him, even though he had no obligation. Because the halacha is, what happens if a person wants to lend money to another person without interest, and the borrower says, I can't take it without paying. It's not right. And the borrower insists to pay. The lender is still in violation of taking ribis. Doesn't make a difference. Torah says the lender in no circumstance is permitted to take ribis, and in no circumstance is the borrower permitted to pay ribis. That's only if it's set at the time of the loan. But later, that's only because that has a semblance of ribis. Therefore, rabbinically, we don't permit it. It's called mersi karibis. Ribis drabonan. No, it's not. It depends. What about I borrow a bushel of? You borrow. Let's say you borrow a 5-pound bag of sugar from your neighbor, and you repay it. What happens when you repay it? The price of sugar went up. Right? Are you permitted to give back the 5-pound bag of sugar? You're giving back. You have to buy a bag that's worth more than you took. Normally, you're not permitted to do it. You're not permitted to do it. I say, I'll give you a bushel. I want a bushel back. And then, this years ago, we discussed, people in 47th Street, they're in the gold business. The jewelers, sometimes they have to borrow gold. They need gold at that time, and they go and they borrow gold from a person that has gold. By the time he returns the gold went up $100 an ounce. So now when he pays back the gold, he's paying back more than he had taken. Right? On the Torah level, it's not ribis. But rabbinically, it's ribis. He's not permitted. He's not permitted to do it. You have to make an evaluation.
Well, that's anything. Someone borrows an orange or returns an orange.
So the Gemara says, if it's something which is negligible, and you have a relationship that you never really care more or less, that's the reason why it's not mersi karibis. Right? Neighbors, they lend one another, but let's say there's a significant difference in the price. I borrow something, I repay it 10 years later. Okay, and now it's the value is 3 times. Now it's something significant.
Yeah, but just a practical thing. If someone lends you $1,000, that you, the person lends you $1,000, and you say just pay it back when you can.
Okay.
No interest, nothing like that. It's the guy's birthday or his anniversary, people not for dinner. And you insist to pay.
Put it this way. This is the way it works.
You have to do that?
This is the way it works. If you would have taken tomorrow discussing this. Let's say a person is a landlord, and he has empty apartments, and he says to a friend of his who had lent him money, "You're in town. You're welcome to stay in the hotel room, gratis." If he would have allowed him to stay there, regardless whether he lent him money or not, that's the nature of the relationship, or that's his level of hospitality. It's not a problem. But if this man, he doesn't give away, an ordinary person would not give. Only a good friend. And this man, it doesn't meet the criteria to be a good friend. And it's clear it's only because he's reciprocating to his lender to show his appreciation that he's not permitted to give the hotel room unless the man pays for it. Because it's mersi karibis.
What happens if the price goes down? The gold lender what happens if they do the exchange in gold? Is that a problem?
It goes down, okay. So he's giving back less.
Giving back less. So now the
No, then there's no
borrower-
problem. There's no problem to give back less.
The borrower has
If the lender says, I insist you give me back the value, and it goes down, and he has to give him back more gold, there's no question he's not permitted to give him back more gold. That's not even a question. No, it's more obvious there. One is he giving back the gold for gold, right? I'll give you an example. If I say, I'll give you an ounce, I want an ounce back. On the Torah level, it's not rebus. Because that's called derech mekach umemkar.
No matter how much it is.
It's not right? Because that's like bartering.
And their
No
abundance
matter
said
how
you
much you
shouldn't do
changed
it.
up or down.
Doesn't make a difference.
they're
No,
abundant.
wait, I'm not down. Well, 1 second.
And their abundance said in that situation.
You're not permitted. You shouldn't do it because it has a semblance because you're giving back more than you actually took.
Okay.
Wait, what about it goes down? I said, if it goes down, I want you to make up the difference in money.
Okay.
So there you're actually paying. You're paying, in addition to, you're paying more.
Paying the same dollar.
Doesn't make that, but it's not item for item. It's item plus cash.
So one is us with their.
No, they're both Rabbanan. They're both us Rabbanan. They're both us Rabbanan.
They're playing it both ways.
Yeah, but one is more obvious. I'm saying one is more obvious. Because in addition to the item you're giving back, the gold you're giving back something else. It's clear, you're giving back an additional payment.
But when you borrow in gold, you're giving back gold. I mean, you're giving back what you took.
I understand that. Doesn't make a difference. Rabbinically, you're not permitted to. You're not permitted.
Basically, the lender takes the worst case in either way. And if it goes up,
You have to write ahead to Riska.
If the lender is taking a loss, is that a problem?
It's always the lenders very often takes a loss. Let's say the value of money drops in value.
Yes.
Right, the lender takes a loss, but you're still not permitted to charge interest. I mean, the whole idea of interest is very often was, because I'm waiting for my money, I'm not able to put that money to use. I want to at least be compensated to some degree for that money.
This is the term for lending. You're not going to lend.
So you don't lend.
So
No, so the Torah says, what about Shemitah? Torah says, the reason why you don't lend is because Karvish not Shemitah, because you're concerned the man's not going to pay. But you're not permitted, you have to still lend him. As long as there's a chance, this we discussed, if you lend the person money and there's no way he could pay, that's not a loan. He's taking your money. You have no obligation. You have no obligation to give that man money because you're not lending him money, you're giving him money. I'm not ready to give a gift. But we're speaking of a person who can pay, and you have it secured in a way that there's a strong probability he would pay. But you say, you never know, Shemitah's coming, it'll be canceled out. What do I need the problem? That you're not permitted to say.
in Europe right now, they're something called negative interest rates. So the lenders are paying the borrower to borrow the money. That's what it means. The lender is paying the borrower. It's happening in Europe.
Why are they paying?
Very strange.
But why should they?
Because the government wants an expansionary policy. But the economy is so weak that people are paying other people to borrow money with the hope that the borrower will use that capital to expand, to do something.
And then who's going to pay? Then would the borrower pay the lender if he succeeds?
No, it's not even will succeed. He's borrowing the money. All he has to do is pay back the principal. But while the loan is outstanding, the lender is
Paying the
borrower.
interest. Is paying the interest.
It's paying interest to the borrower. It's called negative interest.
Yeah.
rate. It's the other way. It's exactly the other way.
And they put the onus on the bank. The bank is obligated to pay for this loan.
Yes.
So we'll be in the lending business.
That's a good question. That's what's happening.
Of course, they're hoping
in
things will get better, and they'll make it up in the future.
And in the United States right now, given the United States has committed itself not to do this, the Federal Reserve, because it messes up the system. Today, people with large cash balances, companies with large cash balances, they go to the bank to deposit. The bank says, I don't want it. I don't want it.
why?
Because they can't lend it out.
They make money on
They
it.
can't lend it out. They can't. They would be obvious, to pay, but they can't lend it. The whole system is mixed up. So the question with Ribis,
Wants to go out and
is
trade.
someone permitted to pay someone to borrow money from them? The other way. lender is paying the borrower. Is the borrower, is somebody
Doesn't make
in
a difference.
violation? Is somebody
But
in
it's-
violation of the Torah book? Negative interest rate.
Again. I go to the bank, I said I want $1,000. They pay me
To take it.
to take it. So they pay me more than $1,000 to take the money.
There you go. As long as the loan is outstanding,
Yeah,
they're paying you interest.
they're paying interest.
They're paying you interest.
What do they give? Who's me? I'm the borrower?
You're the borrower.
So what do they have to pay me? Let them give me an interest-free loan. It's better. Why do they have to make it better than that? Interest-free is not enough.
Nobody wants the interest rate.
Why not? Because if something happens to the loan, so you're not held accountable.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, but I understand. But logically, it doesn't make any sense.
Logically, but that is what is happening.
You definitely can take the money and get paid.
You could definitely take.
Definitely, then not even a question.
There's no violation.
No,
of investment.
It's better than investment. You invest nothing and you get paid.
Get back to the Gemara. Thank you, David.
No, we're talking about the Gemara.
David, you were gonna tell me.
Yeah. Okay.
No, the whole idea of ribs is to protect the borrower. Here, the borrower
You're
needs
paying
no
the bank. The bank
protection.
is paying you.
See, the borrower gets the deal.
No. That's something else. That's something else. That's in your there also. No, it's worse than that. It's worse than that. It's worse than that. It's worse than that. Right. Right. Yeah, but you give it to the investor. You don't know. You don't. It's not safe. The bank's something else. So it's like paying a security company to watch your money.
Really, ribs is to protect the borrower. Here, the borrower gets getting the deal.
No, rib is no.
Protect the borrower.
No, rib is not to protect the borrower. Rib is to encourage the lender to lend to the borrower, but it's really otherwise the lender has no incentive to lend. The word is agar noter. I'm waiting. I'm paying you because I'm waiting for my money. Payment to wait. That's what it is.
Here, there's no payment.
Okay. Okay. Ve'inbo mishum ribis. There's no ribis. My timer. Kevin the chilesle lo yovle. Kisle nami einbo mishum ribis. Because if he doesn't have it, he doesn't give it. They're talking about the Kohen or the Levi. They made this arrangement. He gives nothing, right? Actually, the Kohen is giving nothing, and the Levi is giving nothing. He's just giving away a share. Meaning, what happens if the field has blight? The lender loses everything, right? It's all contingent if there's going to be a crop. So if there's no crop, the lender is out his money. So therefore, even when there is a crop, it's not considered ribis for that reason.
So look, if he says the lowest price, what is the price of the dollar? He says, I want to buy it, I want to pay it back at 50 cents. Right?
You could do that.
He can do that.
If actually it turns out that it's the Shar Azul is 50 cents. If the lowest price, if the market price is 50 cents.
Okay, he's just making up this price. He can't do that. There has to be.
Let's say the lowest price is $1, and he says, well, I'm taking 50 cents. A bushel for 50 rather than for $1.
Can't do
That he can't do. Vein shvis misham toso. Let's say now he didn't write the Prus bill. There's nothing, so the Shemitah canceled the debt. Lo karimi lo yigos. Because again, what's lo yigos? I cannot harass or put myself upon the borrower to pay. He's not paying. Because of the prearrangement, it's paid automatically. It's a little complicated. So let's say you have automatic payment. Let's say the person's account is debited to the what to pay at a certain date. Factually, I'm putting my hand in your pocket, taking it. Right? And it goes automatic, and it's really out of your control. Right? It's because it's out of control because it's a prearrangement. So with a loan, let's say I have such a prearrangement. The automatic account is debited to pay. Like people have.
But then it's a loan that goes over the shmita. I mean, when you make a
No,
loan,
no,
your
the-
loan. that it
No,
doesn't
the
pay
debt
you.
is due before. It's due now. The debt is due now.
Right.
That's if I give you a 10-year loan and it's not due till after the Shemitah, we rule halacha, the Shemitah doesn't cancel. Because here, that was due before. That's due immediately. This is payment. Payment is something else. So the Torah says normally Shemitah cancels the debt. Because there is a debt. Here it doesn't cancel it. Because here it says lo yigos, and there's lo yigos because he's not involved. If the lender, the Yisrael, wants to back out on the agreement, he linked the loan to the Truma, to the Meiser. He says, you know something, I prefer to change the arrangement. Can't change it. Once he gave his money, it's locked in. That's only the lender, because the lender gave away his money. Once he takes the money, it's locked into the agreement, to the arrangement. I took the money on one condition: the Truma is going to be the payment. The money, taking the money. Let's say you give. Wait one second. Let's say you give me money and I borrow it. And say it's a 60-day loan. And after you say no, I want it to be 30 days. Once you gave the money, it's according to the original, locked into that agreement. Same thing, same idea. What about? Wait one second. See, let's say the Kohen wants to back out on the deal because the Truma hasn't yet come about. He wants to back out on the deal. And he says, I want to change the arrangement. He could back out on the deal. Did none. He gave the money and he didn't yet acquire take the fruits in payment. But he gave, so then it's different. Here, the thing didn't exist at the time of the arrangement. Here, on a Torah level, when I gave money, right, there's nothing like kin. There, I give the money for an item. So we hold rabbinic on the Torah level. We rule like Rabbi Yochanan most konos. I pay money for an item, but we rule halacha. If something should happen to that item before delivery, the purchaser has no liability. He's fully reimbursed. He gets his money back. So the seller says, you know something, I'm backing out on the deal. He took his money and wants to back out. Because he had another person come in who's willing to pay more after you already took the money. Can't back out. The moment he took, because on the Torah level, that acquisition is an acquisition. It's an immediate acquisition. Rabbinically, we canceled it to protect the buyer. Okay?
But when the borrower here backs out, what is he backing out to?
He still owes the money.
He still
He owes the money. He owes the
He
money.
doesn't want to be paid.
Right,
out that one.
right, exactly. Right.
Then Shemitah can't.
But once the truma comes, let's say now the Kohen has the truma, he could go after him, right?
But it's an asset.
That's an asset. He could go after him and says, look, it's like he has cash in his pocket. You have to pay your debt. Nisyashu abalim.
Does the Shemitah cancel that one? If the
Yes,
borrower-
because now it's lo yigos. Now it would be lo yigos. Nisyashu abalim imafrishlem fishe mafrishna lo avud. What happens if the owner of the original lender who was going to take from his own harvest, the truma, he despaired because he believed the field had the blight that there's not going to be a crop, then he can't. Then it came back, he cannot tithe from his crop as payment of the debt. This is pshita. It's understood. Now here Rashi says a chiddush. Lo tzricha. The akun. What happened? It grew to a point, and the blight was on the vine or on the stalk, and then it came back. So it grew a certain degree. Then there was blight. So he believed that it wasn't going to recover, but it was a misreading. Ma'od sema akanso milsi. You may think that when it grows to that degree, it's guaranteed. It's probably going to actually recover. And as a result of that, although he despaired, despair is not a valid despair. It's like a mistaken despair. Kamash will know that since it doesn't necessarily come back, the despair is considered valid despair. This is a chiddush already. Look, take a look at Rashi. 1 second, take a look at Rashi. Ma'adu seva a kansa milsi the mishaolu bekoner, that once it grew on the stalk, imis yapshim chozim misaknim, even if it dries, it's going to recover and it'll come to fruition. Umilslo shchichu shu miskalkul nagamri, and it's something which is remote or uncommon that it'll totally be destroyed. V'lo have a yush ma'alyo, and therefore, as a result of that, it's not a valid yush. Kamash malon, that it's a valid yush. Let's talk about what it is. You may think that since it's so remote, since it's meant to come back, and it doesn't come back as remote, therefore the yush should not be a yush, right? V'lo have a yush mal, it's not considered a valid yush. What do you mean? Kamash malon, is it because it's a mistaken yush?
It was meant not to come back and it did come back, that's the thing?
Let me ask a question. I mentioned a person misplaces something in his house and he despairs, right? And then afterwards, he despairs, and then he finds it. When he finds it, is he reacquiring something that which was no longer his? Is it okay? Say it's his house, or you could say, which the Rishonim say, that the halacha yush only applies to something which is not Veda. Something which is lost, meaning it's not in your domain any longer. Since over here, it was only based on his, it was never lost. It was misplaced. It's called misplaced. It was never lost. Therefore, yush was only said regarding an aveda. Others say, like David's saying, no, it is considered despair, but you're continuously recouping. So when you find out that it's still in your domain, now the despair is no longer in place. Now it's yours, right? But despair is despair.
Nobody can come into your house.
Correct.
If you despair and take that item.
Because
the person's a thief.
he's a thief. So he's saying over here, when it dries on the stalk, and he despairs, believing it's not going to recover. You may think, since it normally does recover, and not recovering is something which is remote, so it's not considered a quality despair. Yush ma'alyo. It's not considered a viable despair. To deem it ownerless, kamash malon, that's not the case, not the reality. It's not that remote. Therefore, the despair is valid. But factually, he despaired. Right? This is not like the Aveda. No. He despaired. No, he despaired because of collection of the debt. He despaired. If there's a place to collect the debt from, then I'm going to collect the debt. But here I despaired that the debt would even be, I'll be able to collect the debt. So I would think it's not considered, even though he said, Vailuch Sarum Kiss, woe to me, I'm taking this financial loss. Right? It doesn't make a difference. We say it would not be a valid despair, and therefore he has a right to collect if it comes back. Chiddush is no, because it is. Why? Because it doesn't necessarily come back. But if factually it's remote, it's like Yish Batos. It's like a mistaken despair, because it was based on a false understanding. It was a misunderstanding.
It's like if he was told by the weather forecaster that the weather's going to be bad, and nothing was going to go. But they weren't talking about this type of crop. They were talking about another crop, and he thought he was talking about this.
Let's say a person had an option, and he believed, based on the markets, the way he reads the markets, he's not going to take advantage of the option, and he even paid for the option, and he despairs, believing that it's lost, that an investment, what he paid, was just wasted, and then it turns out phenomenal. Does he still have a right to the option? Be the same thing. He despaired. Why not? Be the same thing. It's a right. You despair on a right. No, I'm not going on the mistake. I'm not going on this mistake.
The idea of yesh is usually subjective, correct? Here what he's saying is there's an objective component to the yesh.
I understand that.
Which is a tremendously difficult idea.
It's a chiddush what he's saying over here. Simply, if the sense of despair would be enough to deem it ownerless, or that you should forfeit it. example. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying over here. Yeah. Unless you say, very often the person says something, even when he says it, he simultaneously has a sense he doesn't let go totally. Sometimes when a ship is going down, there's no way you, right? As much as you say you don't despair, factually you despair. Sometimes a person, he says it half-heartedly. He says, what did I need it for? And although he says the words, but since in this situation a person doesn't fully let go, maybe it's not sufficient to spare. That's what it means. He doesn't say, of course, it's yush betos. Lo yush ma'alyo. It's not considered a qualitative despair. You have to have a full sense of loss, and here he doesn't have that full sense of loss. Kamash Malon, he does have the full sense of loss. So it's not a yush betos. Okay, further. Tanya. Rabbi Lezman Yaakov Omer Hamal v'Moses HaKohen v'Salevi b'Bezdin. Right? The Mishnah. Umesu. And then the borrowers, they die. Mavshalei mecheskas osa shevet. This is not our Mishnah. Right? So our Mishnah says you have to consult with the family. If the children are agreeable to cover the debt of the father, right, you still have a right to collect the truma in the meiser. So he says you have a right to collect becheskas osa shevet from the other Kohanim. Ves'oni bebezdin, if it's done in the bezdin, umes mafsh olov becheskas ani Yisrael. You take from the portion of ani Yisrael. What's the whole idea? The whole idea is because we want to encourage people to lend. These people, they're unfortunates. So if the lender is going to be disappointed that he's not able to collect his debt, people aren't lending money. So therefore, if the loan is done in bezdin, it's as if they're taking responsibility to guarantee that this loan is going to be repaid. So therefore they dip into the till of the Kohanim or the Levim or the poor people to say it's worthwhile that you pay, because if you don't pay in the future you're not going to be borrowing, because these people aren't going to lend. What? It's a takana because it's in their best interest that they should pay, to give the man the right to collect, the lender the right to collect. Rabachi Omer, the Cheskes Ani Olam. See, the Gemara says, not Cheskes Ani Yisrael, the poor of the world. Someone says, my benayu. What's the difference? It's Ani Yisrael, Ani Olam. Ani Olam, the connotation is goyim. I mean, right? Even non-Jews. Someone says, my benayu. First of all, non-Jews. I mean, a non-Jew. If you want to take a non-Jew doesn't get Maisa Oni. Right? A person gives Maisa Oni to a poor non-Jew. He hasn't fulfilled. He hasn't filled his obligation. So what is Aniye Olam? Even Aniye Kusim. So Rashi says we had a machlokes for man the Chachamim if Kusim Geri Aroyos or Geri Emes. The Kuthites, they were a nation who converted because they was out of fear. Was it considered an authentic conversion or it wasn't a valid conversion? So if you're of the opinion that it was Geri Emes, so they're Jews who don't behave like Jews. So therefore they have a right. Monetarily they have a legal right to the Meiser. So therefore you can take from their portion. But if you hold the Geri Aroyos, it was only because of the duress, but it's not a valid conversion, then you have no right to take from theirs. No, you have no right. You have no right to give. You have no right to give from theirs. Ani Kusa, Rashi says, Shemein Ani Yisrael Be'ir. There are no poor Jews in the community. Yesh Ani Kusi Mafish L'Tzorchom V'Yakrim Matzikit. Tied it on their behalf, and then he retains it. Shafim Zochim, then the Kusim Geri Emes him. Because Kusim Geri Emes, he's not. Tanakam Geri Aroyu. So if you set it aside for them, doesn't make a difference because you have Jews in other communities, right? Remember we discussed that Aniyim from other communities, they despair because they figure the Jews of that community are taking it. What about the no Jews in that community? So therefore, who has the right to that Meiser Oni? Jews in other communities. To be continued.